Hi, I'm Stephen Thompson, author of the book It Just Makes Sense: 7 Principles for a Joyful and Stress-Free Life. Today, I'm going to talk about the 10 common sense ways to boost energy in your daily life. What does that really mean? It means when you feel good, when you're up in spirit, when you go to home at night after a day's work and you don't feel exhausted, when you wake up in the morning and you want to get up and you want to get on with your day rather than just being stoic and going, oh Lord, this is what I've got to do today, I guess I might as well get to it. It's when you have a positive stance when you're working through the day and you have a smile on your face most often. All of these things require a certain amount of life force energy. Now, a little while ago I talked about your life force energy bank, and what it simply meant was, in that particular presentation, was that our life is like a checking account where you want to add deposits to increase wellness, happiness, and more energy, and you want to avoid writing a check on that or making withdrawals. So we're just going to enhance that a little bit. Now I want to also mention that when I do this, some of you, when I get to the first 2 or 3, are going, well, that just makes sense, but I already know that. These are kind of boring things that I'm going to talk about in the beginning. But it doesn't hurt to hear it again, because over many, many years, these things I'm talking about to boost your life force energy really, really work. It's just that we forget about them. So I'm going to remind you, and even though if it seems so simple that you already know it, still write them down, still look at it in a way that maybe I can reassess where I'm at with these simple things and learn to do them even better to boost my energy. So I'm going to read some of these and we'll talk about each one of them. And the first one that is so important is, how do you get enough rest? And I wrote that down this way: create a regular schedule for bedtime and waking up. That's just from helping so many people with sleep deprivation and not having good sleep patterns. This is a huge thing on wanting to have energy, life force energy, the next day. And they go to bed at night and they go to bed too quickly after just doing a whole bunch of busy work, and they try and force themselves to go to sleep, and they toss and turn, and one night they go to bed after watching the late night show, and the next night they decide to read a book, or they're busy talking about balancing their checkbook, those kind of things. And so when you're caught up with an unscheduled bedtime, the body has a difficult time memorizing when it's time to go to bed and get a good night's sleep. So try and get that bedtime set pretty regular each and every night, and then also along with that, start your wind down period at least an hour before that. You know, make sure that you're doing something that's kind of relaxing without stress. Read a book that you enjoy, probably not a real high suspense action novel, but something that's just kind of easy going that will let you kind of start to slow your cycle down until you start getting a little bit sleepy. And then the next part of that was, remember to wake up at the same time each morning. We all have REM stages of sleep, and what we want to do is get those set so that your body knows exactly what you're needing and what you're asking for. Now sometimes if you're a creature of a bad habit, or you have to reprogram some of this, you might not get to do this easily the first few times. But if you take a week and you just start working with a regular bedtime and a regular get up time, it will help boost your energy within that period of time most often. The second one was eat and drink in moderation, and that's a really great tool. Most often people are unaware of how much they eat or when they're getting over hungry. And the lesson I have here, it's part of our program on the BodyWise program, but it's called the Hunger Scale. And it is to, if you have a scale on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on one end of the scale, 0 in the middle, and then you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the other, the first side is, I am so hungry I could eat a horse. I just can't hardly wait. I'm starting to feel weak. And on the other side of that scale is, I am so full. I've just had a huge Thanksgiving dinner, and if I put one more bite of food in my mouth, I'm going to pop. Well, obviously, you don't like to be at the far end of either side of that. So what you would want to do is become aware of when you're hungry and eat just enough to be satisfied without overeating, or when you are already getting too full, you say, okay, this is enough. I don't need to keep eating. I've had all I need for my body. And also look at the quality of foods that you're eating. If you're following the common sense ritual, everybody knows that there are good things that you can put in your body, and there are things that don't support you and support your wellness. So if you're going to imbibe on a big piece of chocolate cake with some ice cream and all the other stuff, do it in moderation, and just be aware that, well, if you had ice cream and cake today, that maybe tomorrow you don't have a lot of sweets. Just watch the coffee intake and the soda pop intake. Watch how much alcohol you drink. My rule is, if you do everything in moderation and you just have an awareness about it, you're going to have a lot more energy left in your Life Force energy bank. I even, because I travel a lot, I have to moderate my vegetables and my fruits and meats and all that stuff, and how many times am I eating out in restaurants, and how much am I having for breakfast and stuff. Well, a lot of times it's not easy to always find really healthy food. But in moderation, if I know that I've loaded up one day, then the next day I'll go a little bit lighter and I'll adjust my menu. And I've done this for so long now, I've found that I can eat very healthy even when I'm traveling. So it's the moderation rule that really worked for me. So that will help you with your Life Force energy. The next one is move your body and listen to your own internal clock. Moving can get you started in the AM. When you get up in the morning, start to do some stretching exercises. Take some nice deep breaths. Rehydrate yourself with some water. Try and move a little bit before you just get yourself dressed, walk out the door, sit, get in your car, go to an office possibly where you have to sit all day in a cubicle, or you're working on books and records, or if you're doing things that cause a lot of stress during the day. I love it when I can take a nice walk in the morning, or even in the afternoon if it's not raining, and I can do some stretching exercises just to get my body functioning. That will really help to boost your energy. And it also kind of alleviates stress, because your mind's probably going on autopilot when you're thinking about doing that. And even though you're thinking about all the things you've got to do that day, you're actually moving in sequence with that, and that in itself relieves stress. The next one, avoid distractions whenever possible. That means that when you find yourself being distracted, pull yourself back to what it is that you have in mind to do that day. That gets you to the point where your focus becomes better. You're more tuned in to the activities that you're actually doing. You're more consciously aware of it, and you're not creating undue stress. Distractions pull us away from getting so much of what we want to get done accomplished that we tend to go at the end of the day and we just feel drained, because what we set out to do, we never got to finish. So what does that do? That adds to the list for the next day. So it's a common sense tip, but avoid distractions. The next thing is kind of along that same line. Make a list of 3 important things that are a priority, and make sure you make progress in all 3. By saying that, it doesn't mean that you necessarily have to get all 3 things accomplished. Celebrate if you do, but I used to go out with a list in the morning and I would have 10 things, 15 things on my list, but I didn't prioritize the list. And so I would be going helter-skelter trying to get all 10 or 15 things done, and it soon became apparent that the most important things were the things that I often didn't like to do, and so therefore I would have gotten 7 of the things that were not very important done, and the 3 things that were most important, I did very little on it. I'd be distracted or whatever it was that we just mentioned. So the idea behind that is make progress on those 3 things. So at the end of the day, you can really look at, I accomplished this on this area that was a priority, and feel good about it. That boosts your energy. And it doesn't always have to be in the business circle either. Sometimes that priority list is to have some time with your wife or your family. Go out and do a little more exercise. Take some time to sit quiet and just reflect. Those things can be on that list too, but if that's on your list, try and make great effort to get yourself in the avenue of acceptance there and get that stuff done so that you know that you've accomplished something in that, on that list. Do something that really makes you laugh. It could be watching a simple little funny thing on YouTube or whatever, but laughter really boosts your energy. Think of what happens when you're watching a drama on a movie screen and you get done and it's a really good movie, but you don't really feel good about it compared to when you watch a really funny comedy that gets you just laughing. Those are the ones that people share most often with someone else, and then they even laugh again. So laughter is great. Most people ignore it. They don't even remember it. They don't even focus on, hey, I haven't laughed today. I highly encourage you to do that as much as you can. It makes you feel good and it boosts your energy. The next one is share something from your heart space. People get so caught up in the me and they get so caught up in the routine that they forget to do something really nice for someone most often. I remember when I was in the Boy Scouts. I absolutely loved the Boy Scouts growing up. Got to be an Eagle Scout, and really it changed my life in a lot of positive ways because it focused on values. And they had a thing, do a good turn daily, was something that was their motto. And when I was just at a tenderfoot, which is the very first little rank that you get at 11 years old, my scoutmaster gave me a coin. And it was a little brass coin that we kept, and we had to commit every single day that we had to do a good turn. We had to do something to help someone every day. And when we did that, we would take the coin out after we did it and put it from one side of our pocket to the other side of our pocket. And that let us know when we went to bed at night that we had done it. And I can't tell you how many times I felt, oh my gosh, I forgot to do my good turn today. And at that age, I was pretty impressionable, but it reminded me. So I couldn't hardly wait until the next week would come by. And he'd always ask, how many of you wear your coin? Because our scout meetings were in the evening. And we were supposed to carry the coins to the scout meeting. He'd always ask, all right, guys, how many of you have your coins in your other pocket? And a lot of the kids did, and it became a habit. And it just really helps to boost your energy. So the next one is take 30 minutes for quiet reflection time. Great, right before you go to bed or when you first wake up in the morning after you've stretched and kind of got yourself limbered up. Grab a notepad or a journal where you can just write some really nice creative things down. Celebrate things that you've accomplished. Those kinds of things. Reflective time. Have I done the best I could today? Is there anything that the next day I need to do to make someone happy? Do I need to apologize? Whatever it is, but just reflect. And sometimes even just sitting quiet and breathing and noticing your environment, noticing the birds and noticing the flowers that are blooming and things. I have story after story of situations I put myself through where when I actually was in my reflective time and I came out, I felt so much better. I had a lot more joy in my heart. So the last one, but not the least, is to celebrate often, especially when you've accomplished one of the other 9 things that I just shared. It's really nice to go back on this list and kind of reflect. What have I done today to boost my energy? And if you found that you've done several of these things, really celebrate that. It's as simple as giving yourself a pat on the back or looking at yourself in the mirror and just saying, you know, Stephen, you're a good guy, and getting a big old smile on your face as you recognize you've really done well that day. And you want to celebrate often. It's not an ego thing. When you're doing it to boost your life force energy, it's a sincerity thing. It gives yourself the validation that you are doing the best you can. So I think that's probably quite a few things for you to look at, and I know that if you try these, you're going to have a much higher boosted energy in a real healthy way than if you didn't do these things. So good luck.